Hello everyone. I want to quickly go over style and different forms of calibrating to different ranges of expression. What does that mean? I want to talk about how many ways a human being can be expressed, hopefully understandably, in regards to energy and how they can manifest themselves. In other words, this energy that is resisting the wind of change, in how many ways can it be changed? How many ways can it be expressed? In how many ways can the sun shine? In how many possibilities can I exist in? When you think about this, you see that the first proofs you're given is based on your senses and what is here. You see the objective reality, which is defining your existence. You receive that definition. But then you see, because you can think about your existence, because you can be aware of it, you have self-awareness. So it is an activity in the realm of thought in which your ideas are aware that they're thinking, that there's an identity. Regardless of the identity you choose, and regardless of how the wind hits, you feel your life. You feel you're alive. It is not lost in misplaced definitions by others of what your life has to be. It is right here and you can see what your life is. The importance of seeing clearly is to get yourself out of a condition which is unclear. Because you see, there are different types of people. There are people who become like the cat which curiosity killed, because they are attached to their idea, but they also want to know what is there more. You know, they're trying to look through their idea, but they can't see anything else. And therefore they're curious to see what else they are, but they are not willing to let go of the ideas of themselves, or the idea they have of themselves, which is the condition they're in. You see, there's something called longing. There's the search within, where you wonder why. And you see that it begins on a mental range. You're creating a question to find an answer. But where is the question and the answer? Who is asking the question and the answer? Who is receiving the answer? How does life play with itself? It is always a form of reunion. In other words, you consider yourself to be separate, then life becomes a unified experience. You consider yourself unified, life becomes a separate experience. And you have choice in your mental range of expression. You have choice to let life happen or make life happen. And these range from simple to complex. What is complex is something that has been touched by the unknown. We don't know it, so it seems complex. But how different is the knowing of the child that it is alive compared to the scientist or the monk or whatever, you know? How do you know you're here? And that knowing can be written down in textbooks and in poetry and in theories, or it can be experienced directly by you. So you must let your condition fade by never being in it, never thinking you're in it. Don't think you are poor, because then you'll keep thinking that idea and you'll never see the richness of your being. You see, there is presence, and your presence cannot be acknowledged by the collective objective reality of what we believe is here. You see, we have a presence. That's why there is a thinker. That's why there's an awareness to the body. That's why we're different from objects. We have this mental intelligence, which is not mental. We only call it mental to understand it. We define things to understand them beyond their definitions. And that is the value in search. Or to research, actually. To research your ideas and see where their roots come from. To see why your parents told you that is God. Why the first ideas that came to you about who you are and what you believe in was that shape of identity. That unique shape, which is your views now. You see, you can think to the depth that you believe you're a thought chained to some ideas. You believe reality only has to be this. It can't be anything else. And that is working with only one dimension of reference. We are choosing our existence and our clarity based on one wavelength which everybody can see. Snakes, they're animals who see different wavelengths. Dogs see differently than humans. And we're not going based on their certainty, we're going based on the certainty of the human form, not the human being. We're going based on the certainty of the human form to utilize language and writing and thought. Thinking is systematic because the self-reflection we choose to identify ourselves through is based on comparative points. In other words, comparison. I'm doing good today because I'm not doing bad. We create the meaning of our condition now based on other conditions we're comparing it to. Now all these lead somewhere, similar to a spiral which has both arrows going inwards and outwards. We realize our experience is multifaceted and it's experiencing. Similar to how you are experiencing, let's say, playing a football game, others are experiencing it too. But it's not the same range of definitions, but it is an experience. We all walk and we all run. Even if we don't have legs, we change, we move, we progress, we expand in our shapeless awareness. You see, one of the first teachings that naturally came to me was the idea of presence. And before you can even consider communicating to something, you must consider the beliefs that are limiting your communication. It doesn't matter if you want to consider your boss or a higher shapeless, formless being or presence or idea, you know? How you're communicating with something is really dependent on the self-reflection you have. And if your self-reflection is, I don't want to say tainted, but if it's cluttered with ideas of a trapped condition, you're not going to be able to see freely the answer that is right there with the question. Therefore, through gentleness and awareness and reflection, and self-reflection is simple as looking at the mirror or sitting on the ground and feeling the stillness and feeling the movement of the noise and everything else. Once you have that platform of clarity and centeredness and no longer an attention to past, present, future, see, you're not trying to stop the thinker. You're simply recognizing that thinking is naturally done. You don't need to get stuck thinking that you're thinking too hard. The self-judgment, the script you create about your condition is never accurately promising your condition and is actually limiting how things are playing out for you. Change your script. Change what you think is going to happen in the negative condition which you create or you conceive. You think of the concept which is the negative experience and which it materializes into whatever it has to be. Now, once you're centered, there's this quote that they say, how would I mention this very, very well? There's this quote that says, nature is not mute, it's man that is deaf. I'm not sure who said this exactly. However, its implication was that the way man is hearing nature is useless. You walk by a tree, you don't even think about it twice. You see a squirrel, you laugh at your childhood cartoons and you leave. You know, you're not there observing the movements of life. To be honest, actually, nature teaches you dynamic lessons. Rather, when you go to class, if you're not practically engaged and you're just looking at theory, you're looking at it from a static point. In other words, how active your physical capacity is, your physical body is, suggests how active your thoughts are, or you're going to be involved. Therefore, leadership needs to be an awareness of the silence in the background, a sense of stillness and orientation based on a nothingness, and then any sense of beingness that is capable. You see, if you recognize that your mind is the outline of who you are to be, and when I say mind, I'm not just talking about a physical conception of mind. your mind is not speakable and communicatable at some point, because you are it. I cannot communicate to you the voice that you have. You are the only voice. And remember, before anyone else hears your voice, you are meant to hear your voice first. You are meant to have your presence and the way you exist. Therefore, pay attention to how you speak. Pay attention to your every step. There's a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Zen master, and he says, if we want to enter heaven on earth, we need one conscious step and one conscious breath. What does that mean? That means to change your state of being from the conditions it's trapped in. Take one step and be aware of your breath and your presence and your existence doing it. There are shapeless moments in our experience that appear only when we observe all ideas, all form. That which observes form is known to be formless. And don't take this as a statement. Go experience. Go see how far you think. Go see how you're thinking. Be aware to the thoughts that come to you throughout your days. Because you will notice some thoughts are unnecessary and they are keeping your condition there. What does that mean? You might not be aware of it, but every time someone looks at you, you're saying this sucks, that sucks, everything sucks. You know, everything is bad. You're verbally, it's as if you're being under such an influence of your problem that you're verbalizing it to even make it more real. You see? Excuse me. You see, understanding must begin with a clear mirror. You must sit down, you must be aware of yourself. You must not listen to any other voice than the voice of you. And once you're made aware of your own thoughts, when you're aware of what you're thinking, you then sit in the presence of those voices. And you reach a form of stillness that is perhaps comparative to a man who sat by a tree a long time ago and stood there discovering what it is, what life is, what the human being is. When you become aware of the human condition, you're no longer stuck in the human condition because you're aware of it. You see the limitation, and who's looking at the limitation? Only someone who is more limitless. You conceive how able you are. You conceive how far your voice goes and in what ears it blooms in. You choose the language that is communicated to you. You choose how people talk. And you need to understand, sometimes it's mental action, sometimes it's physical action. By physical action, in other words, if you see clearly and someone is doing something that is unhelpful, let's say someone is taking away someone's value by stealing, someone is taunting, someone is degrading another human being. When you see that happen, that human being is not clear. If you're hurting another person for attention, that's similar to getting a gun to the self-image of that human being and shooting. You don't need to kill people's inspiration by making them trapped in conditions they don't need to be in. Mental bullying is an arena where it either creates tough skin which can stand through any wind because it knows it's not that skin, or it creates a waste of time of self-doubt. Where you see the reason, for example, you never, for example, took that extra step was because someone, when you were very young, told you not to take steps that far. Your mother never told you to jump on that rock on the stream. They always held you back, for example. And this happens in many ways, and it's not even here. Guys, the conditioning you have is not just from here. Sometimes mental ideas survive the transition into a next temporal physical manifestation. In other words, if you have an idea, that idea's presence is beyond the physical. Because right now that I'm thinking, you can't see my ideas. Unless I speak them. You can't see them. It's as if I have my own view of looking at life that nobody can touch. Now, when people take steps to experience this more based on objective revelation and subjective revelation. In other words, you're not just physically experiencing life differently, you're also mentally experiencing life differently. And you realize it's all dependent on the value you see in the moment. In other words, let's say that if you stood by the sun and you thought that the sun kills you, you would keep yourself in the mental condition of giving yourself away to that reality. If you create a very big enemy in your life, mentally, in other words, you think that life is against you or everything like that, there is a response you get in regards to the flows you have. It's as if, not being aware, you're driving a car and you no longer steer. You're actually saying this car doesn't work when the car's moving. You must be driven by more than truth to discover what is more than truth. A truth is the first answer you're given. What is life? What is that answer to that? What is life? Is it activity? Is it inactivity? Is it definable? No. And that's when things change. When you realize definitions can't define everything and you need to go explore experientially what the truth of this existence is. Some people believe in truth to the degree that they can make it real for you. If I sat here and told you that all life can be seen through this rock or, in something, do you know what I mean? In an object, all life can be seen through ice cream, for example. And I said that with enough conviction, you as an existential being, you as something that exists, will see connections to your existence. You see, it has to be beyond mental circuitry. Your mind has to be beyond its own mechanical use. And when I say mechanical use, it's as if we are viewing ourselves through ideas. What is evolving in the A is a transcendent self of present in a subtler mental realm based on its communication. So when we have a name, that is the monkey's evolution to a degree where it can acknowledge itself based on voice, based on sound. When you hear a sound, you can know what you're talking about. You're oriented based on language. Language does give orientation, and it is needed now, but you also need to have awareness in language. Because if I define hardship in your life as death, every time something hard comes to you, you'd think you're dying. The definitions we have of what life is suggest the life we have. It's very a self-reflective thing. You can sit here and someone could grab a knife and try to take you out of this life. And how you handle it depends on how aware you are of an idea and your ability. Some people think they're unable or unable, they can't do things because they've mentally never let themselves to try. Have you ever jumped higher than you can jump? Have you done the unexpected to see what happens through your day? Have you experienced the spectrums of activity and expression you can have through the day? What happens is these spectrums are from you. You choose how beautiful the light of the sun is. You choose if trees are more valuable as tables or their roots have secrets that need to be rediscovered. You need to also understand there's feelings involved in any search, because a search is a change. And once we change, our feelings change, our environment changes. Therefore, you must be aware of the changeless observance that's been present through the beginning of your life to the end. Whether the beginning is from how you were born here, or if it's from somewhere else. Regardless of the origin you think, you need to have a full experience of what you are right now. Guys, experience is the word that helps you look for more than words. If I tell you an idea or a story, you get an experience. You get affected by it. How you are now shifts. So based on some sound vibrations and some neural connections, your experience is shifting. You need to understand how sensitive it is. Go see the sensitivity of your mind. Because there are some things that scientists and statistics can't explain because it is an individual experience. It's because you can't get together and, at least at this stage of humanity's evolution, have personalized experiences of what is truth. Only when the definition goes away. Only when imagery is no longer important, but presence becomes important. And that's when you can say mantra sounds and just experience your being on different depths. You see, our minds are creating stories based on our recognition. If our recognition is amplified based on our awareness to greater proximity of being, in regards to being anything, then you're no longer just a stone falling from a mountain, you are the whole mountain. You're no longer a person living a life, you are life. You're no longer someone who's seeking love, you are love. Every moment that you're alive, it is undefined and irrelevantly relevant experience. I hope my words show the value in self-reflection and self-awareness. And I hope that when you are on your search or on your journey or wherever you're headed in regards to the purpose of your creativity, you recognize that the more aware you are, the more abilities you will see in yourself. And the more ways you can express yourself. You might be an exceptional painter, but you've never seen a brush because nobody told you you can hold a brush. You might be an exceptional musician, it's because nobody showed you the right strings. And you can be an exceptional moment of life by seeing all moments here and now. That is a clear state of progression. That is when the thinker is no longer confused by its self-image, but is present, it's aware. It no longer needs to be a thinker. It is the existence of even a thought, the origin, the spark of the alertness which makes you recognize how your day is going and what your day even looks like. There's a nature to our essence which we cannot touch with shaped arms, with shaped fingers. And the reason is because we are not designing in that fashion. We are a design. We are, for example, a wrench helping fix the mechanics of our life and other lives. In other words, the human design is to work with a greater awareness than the design of, let's say, an animal, because certain animals are ranged to certain activities. Everything has its purpose because a purposeful context can be given to anything. But only natural expression, the same natural expression that is your growth and that allowance to grow, is as important as the path you travel, I guess. Much blessings, and I hope you see in the most integrative glance why you're standing here individually. Thank you.